Good day everyone, this is Patrick from EasyFX Code Trading System, and it's Tuesday the 12th of November 2019, and it's just after 11 a.m. in Singapore, and it's the daily analysis for Euro, Cable and the Aussie dollar. Let's start off with the Euro dollar, and it's the daily chart where after a bearish move last week, there was a slight pullback or retracement and right into the previous intermediate support. Now it could be resistance. Let's switch to the 4-hour time frame. So this was the previous area of intermediate support, which it was reached, and now it's just sitting around the 50% fib area at 110.29 to 30, and this week's new weekly pivot has fallen right next to the monthly pivot now, and it's now at 110.71. The monthly pivot is at 110.70, and both the 55 and 200 period EMAs on the 4-hour time frame coming down to support that as a significant resistance area. So we'll see whether it's able to retrace back higher to the 38 fib area, or whether it's going to fall straight down to the 110 level and the key support zone with the 62 fib retracement area. So for today, I would say this would be the key intermediate resistance zone. That will be around the 110.50 area. And this is from the low of last week. That was at the 110.17 level. So it's not too far from the 110 support zone. So I would think that this could be a potential sell zone if it does pull back into this area, and watch out for bearish trigger signals to take a shot down to the next key support zone. There is the Eurozone and German ZEW economic sentiment later this evening as well, so watch out for that. Alright, let's move on to the cable. And yesterday it managed to recover back. There was a slight gap up into the 128 area, opened back up at 127.93 and made a significant pullback into the weekly R1 pivot level before fading off and closing for the day below the lower trend line of the triangle. So it did make a significant retest of the triangle. The new weekly pivot is at 128.30. Let's take a look at the 4-hour time frame. So there was a slight gap up at the start of the week, and it was retracing just above the 128. And let's switch to the 1-hour time frame. And just around the 8 o'clock at night in Singapore, there was breaking news that the Brexit party in the UK is not going to contest those seats that were won by the Conservative Party in the previous election, so giving way for the Conservative to potentially winning back those seats, and will only contest those that Labour and other parties uh, have won before. So this potentially means that they are also supporting the Conservative to win a majority in Parliament. This gave a boost to the cable for a quick move back up to retest the weekly R1 pivot level before fading back down. And now it's at the 1 hour 200 EMA area. That's at the 128.50 area. The weekly R1 pivot was at 128.92 and it spiked to almost retest the 129 area, made a high of 128.98, and it moved up from the weekly pivot right to the weekly R1 pivot level. Right, going back to the 4 time frame. So now we'll see whether this lower trend line will remain as resistance and whether it's going to resume its retracement lower. It needs to fall back down towards the weekly pivot and back to the key support zone. Now we've got to mark it back as a support area. Now that is as a push back up higher. So for today, the critical resistance is intermediate resistance is going to be at the weekly R1 pivot level. And that's going to be at around the 128.90 level. And we'll see whether that will hold. But meanwhile, looks like it may consolidate until news later this afternoon or evening with the UK employment report. So along with the Eurozone zoo economic sentiment, so this evening there could be some volatility to watch out for. All right. There is also UK CPI figures tomorrow on Wednesday, and along with the US CPI figure tomorrow night, and the start of Fed Chair Jerome Powell's testimony, 2-day testimony. So over the next couple of days, it could be volatile as well. And for now, the UK elections will be a key event until the 12th of December. So any positive news for the Conservative government party will be give a boost to the cable. All right, let's move on to the Aussie dollar. And the Aussie dollar yesterday has started with a slight gap lower, closed the gap to retest the lower trend line of the descending triangle. And today, this morning, has already fallen to hit the monthly pivot line again, back to the monthly pivot line at 0.6831, and right near the daily 55 EMA, as well as close to the 38 FIB retracement level. So it hit a low of 0.6830 32, let's call it 32, just a couple of pips above the 38 fib retracement level. So it has retraced rather quickly all the way back down to the monthly pivot. The new weekly pivot for Aussie dollar this week is at 0.6878, so it's already well below that. Switch to the 4-hour time frame. And this was the previous intermediate support zone right near it was the rising 200 period EMA along with the monthly pivot. So we'll see whether this support area will hold for a while until it could be some influence from the RBNZ rate decision tomorrow morning. So we'll see what happens with that news from the New Zealand Central Bank, where it seems that they're expected to cut interest rate for another time. So that could also impact and pull the Aussie dollar lower down into the 50% fib retracement level and the support zone where the lower trend line is as well. Alright, so let's change this to a resistance level or zone now. So that's going to be at 0.6860 area. Alright, other than that, on Thursday when we catch up again, there will be Australian employment report coming out that morning as well, earlier in the morning at 8:30. So we will be seeing the effect of that after once we review at 11. Alright, meanwhile, have a good trading week till then, and cheers.